So welcome everybody to this month's NALP webinar. My name is Chantel Cook and I'm going to be the host of this webinar this month. Joining us on this is going to be Jane Robson, who is our CEO. Jane will be answering the questions. Also in the background, helping out if needs be, is Amanda Hamilton, our former CEO and our current patron. And doing all the techie work behind the scenes and putting all those links into the chat is our head of marketing, and that's Nigel Davey. They're all also on this call, and if you need any help, then we're there to help you out, should that be necessary. One quick thing I do want to tell you about before we get started is one of our member benefits, which you may not be aware of. So if you're already a member, do take advantage of this, because every member is entitled to a 15-minute career consultation call, completely free, with one of our NALP career experts. So if that's something you think you would find useful at the moment, then do get in touch with us and we can book you in for one of those. If you're not a member, you need to be a member to have it. So that's another reason why you should be joining us, which I very much hope you will do. So let's get started, because we really want to talk about these qualifications and exactly what qualifications are available and how you choose which is the right one for you. So Jane, can I start by asking you, can you just give us a broad overview of the qualifications? And then what we'll do is we'll look at each one kind of in more detail.
Currently, we've got qualifications at level 3, level 4, and level 7. We've got single subject qualifications at level 3 plus the paralegal technician certificate for paralegal technicians. We've got the level 4 paralegal studies, but that's soon to be replaced by the level 4 for associate paralegals. And then we've got the level 7 in paralegal practice. So that's sort of in a nutshell what our offering right now.
Okay, let's then obviously start with the level 3. So what is the level 3 qualification, and how would I, who might that be relevant to? Why would I choose that particular one?
The level 3 is what we would normally see as being an entry level for somebody that's just starting out in their career. It doesn't matter if they're changing careers later on in life, or they're, just leaving school, or whatever it is. It's a level 3 is kind of an equivalent to an A level, if you look at it that way, or a T level. So that's where those are aimed. You've got the single subjects, which therefore those who are just maybe wanting to dip their toe into studying law, or just need a specific area of law for their job, or just for an area of interest. I mean, people just perhaps want to learn about criminal law because they enjoy that, and that they want to see if all the books and all the stories on TV and things are actually anything like the real world. Then you've got the level 3 for paralegal technicians. This has 4 units in it. It has been mapped to the National Occupational Standards, the same ones that are used for the level 3 apprenticeship for paralegals. So it's very, very much built for today's paralegals and today's world, for those who are wanting to pursue a career in law and starting as a paralegal, or being a paralegal as a paralegal practitioner later on. Now, the paralegal technician qualification covers the English legal system, ethics, contract law, and civil litigation and dispute resolution, which are the 4 sort of main cornerstones of what you need to know as a legal professional.
So level 3 is really starting from the beginning and giving you a really good solid basis.
Yes.
So what about the level 4? Would I ever miss level 3 and head for level 4? Can you tell me a bit more about that?
The level 4 has always been designed for those who either are continuing their studies from a level 3, or for those who perhaps already have some experience in working in law. Perhaps they've been working as a legal secretary, or they've been doing something else that is law or law adjacent, and so they know a lot of the kind of foundation. They have a lot of foundational knowledge, perhaps they want to build on. The level 4 in paralegal studies has been with us since one of the first ones we ever did. So 2010, and so we that has always been around, but that is being withdrawn for new learners from the 1st of April. And we have just launched the level 4 certificate for associate paralegals. Now, this is built, it has been developed to build on the level 3 for paralegal technicians. So it does go on from there. It's not a, completely separate. It can be taken by someone who perhaps hasn't done that, or has done a level 3 apprenticeship, or maybe has done their A-level law or T-level law or something like that, or has had some experience. It covers the English legal system again, but it's in more depth. Goes a lot more into it. Then it goes on to the law of tort, and then the two sort of legal subjects it covers, other than that, is employment law and practice and criminal law, which are two of the most popular legal realms that for people to go into, particularly as paralegals.
Now, so we covered level 3 and 4, and I know you said, and then you kind of jumped to 7, but what's in the middle there? Is there anything in the middle?
Currently, not yet, but level 5 is coming by the end of spring this year. So there will be a level 5 again. That's going to build directly on the level 4, and it's going to cover 4 new areas. So it's going to be land law and conveyancing, business law and practice, matrimonial and civil partnership law, and public and EU law, which is a completely new area that we've not covered before in any of our qualifications. And again, gives paralegals a really good understanding of how laws are made, as well as how to interpret them and actually practice. It will be aimed at those who have taken a level 4 qualification, or have maybe done the first year of a law degree and then had to drop out for whatever reason, but still want to continue their studies. So it is really aimed at someone who is looking to continue their academic studies. A level 6 will be coming later on, but we'll have more news on that as the time gets a bit closer.
Okay, then jumping up to the level 7. So what kind of qualification is that?
The level 7 is what's called a postgraduate qualification. So it is specifically aimed at somebody who has a law degree in English law specifically, or has got some other level 6 legal qualification. So those who, when we do have our level 6, when they've done the level 6, they would be able to go on to a level 7. So it is, as I say, postgraduate. But it's concentrates on the practicing elements of being a paralegal. So what they need to know to run their own legal practice, and it's about applying all of their knowledge, as opposed to building more knowledge, because that's a completely different thing. That you always look at a law degree or going up to a level 6 as being your academic side, but then you need to learn how to put that into practice and how to continue on and actually run a business doing that. And that doesn't matter if you are running your own business, or perhaps you are going into a legal practice and you're because paralegals can now become partners of law firms. You don't have to be a solicitor, and that there's a lot more scope for paralegals out there now. So this will assist with that as well.
So is that really ideal, as you say, for someone who's perhaps done the first year of law degree, but also maybe somebody who's not got any paralegal qualifications yet, but has been working as a paralegal for quite a long time? Might they be able to jump to the level 7?
Currently, not yet. It is specifically for those who have got a law degree. We are currently in the early stages of developing a new level 7, and we may look at that. But level 7 is traditionally one that is a postgraduate for someone that has got a law degree or has got an equivalent, such as a level 6 qualification.
Right. So very much you say postgraduate, that's what you need to keep in your mind really is
Yeah.
for that one. And if you don't have if you're not in the postgraduate category, then you'll be looking at things like maybe the level 3 or the level 4, depending on
Yes.
where you are in your career at the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah, that would be what you would look at. And similarly, the level 4 is often used for those who perhaps have a law degree from outside the UK, and or outside of English law, I should say, because it could be a Scottish law degree, because that's completely different. Um, uh, that doesn't immediately equate to English law. There are some that are based on common law, which is quite easy to map across, but there's a lot of other places that it doesn't work that way. So the level 4 can also stand as a good crossover. So for those that have got a good knowledge of their own legal system and what the law is and have studied that, and the level 4 can be a really good crossover for that as well.
Let's, having gone through those different qualifications, let's quickly talk about how long they take. So is it something I can do very quickly, or does this take years and years? Because you always go look, when you go to university, you do a degree, that's quite a large chunk of time. So how does this compare, all of the
Um,
qualifications?
it can compare quite favorably. All of the qualifications are um, based on 4 units of study. Um, you have 2 years as a maximum to complete each level of qualification. However, they can be done in a shorter amount of time. It all depends on the individual and how much time they have that they can put into it, how much time they want to spend on it, whether they want to, okay, I'm just going to dedicate the next 4 months and do a unit. We have seen people do a unit per month and get these done in 4 or 5 months. Um, but the usual is around about 9 months to complete. That's the average, I would say, for people to complete. But it can be done quicker, but it does depend on what the learner wants to do.
Can you take longer?
You can't take longer than 2 years unless you have some form of reasonable adjustments, because of a learning difficulty or other disability.
And then what about how you can study these qualifications? Do I have to go to college to them? Can I do them at home? How does that work for each of these different levels?
Well, for all of our qualifications, they have been developed originally as distance learning, but they can equally be delivered in classroom based. We have a whole range of different centres who provide these in different ways. Some do classroom based, some do a blended learning, which is a crossover between classroom and online. Some do online only, some do distance learning by providing PDF documents and things like that, and then we'll just give tutorial support on demand. So there's a lot of different options for people out there for them to choose what actually will suit their lifestyle better and the time they have available.
So making that choice really is not about what's better or what's worse or
No.
what's easier or anything like that. It's purely what works for you, bearing in mind where you are in your life right now.
Absolutely, yeah. It is a completely individual choice, and you have to just decide, am I going to be working full time? Is this going to be something that's easier for me to do by being able to read this at my leisure and then just pick up tutorial support as and when I need it? Or do I want a structured a time with a tutor because they're online classes or anything like that, or going into a classroom because you want that interaction, personal interaction with your teacher and your peers.
And let's talk not maybe specific figures, but I think it would be interesting for people to understand kind of what sort of prices they might expect to pay for doing these kinds of qualifications. I guess that varies quite a lot by college and what they're offering, does it?
Yeah, it can vary because obviously, if you think about it, distance learning is going to potentially be slightly cheaper than if you're going in to a classroom based. But it does depend on this individual centre. Um, Off the top of my head, I think they start at level 3 at about just under £1,000 for the qualification. Um, that's just what I can think of off the top of my head. And when you go up to level 7, I think it's maybe nearer 2,000
As you say, it
pounds for
depends on the
that.
college, doesn't
But
it, really?
yeah, it
Yeah.
really does. And we don't set the prices that the colleges charge. I would say that. We don't do that at all. That is entirely up to the colleges because we're not providing the teaching element. We do all the workbooks and we provide all of the assignments or assessments, and we do all the marking of them as well. So no training centre does any of the assessments for these. That's all with us.
Mhm. And again, I mean, really, even at the top end, that's not a lot to pay for an off-qual recognized qualification. I
No,
think it's
no.
generally a lot, a lot more expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it it is quite uh, a cost-effective way of doing this. And if you think about if somebody is taking, say, a law degree, they're going to be paying more than £9,000 a year.
Mm.
And you can, once we have all of these and our level 6 is there, you could potentially be doing them for, £1,000 to £2,000 a year per, and come out with an equivalent.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned that these are off-qual recognised.
Yes.
Why is that so important? Why would I care about that? Because obviously there are other paralegal qualifications. It's like that thing, disclaimer, isn't it? Other brands available.
Yeah.
But there are other paralegal qualifications, but none of them are off-qual recognised. So
Yeah.
why is that off-qual recognition so important?
As an Ofqual recognised awarding organisation, we have to adhere to their what's called the conditions of recognition. And there are certain standards that we have to adhere to. And you can only get those if you are under Ofqual. If you are taking a qualification elsewhere, that doesn't have that sort of a recognition. There's no one overseeing the standards. There's nobody checking that what you are taking is fit for purpose. But when you come under Ofqual, you have to ensure that everything is at a very, very high standard, the same standard that your A levels and your GCSEs and that sort of thing are held to. We literally have to meet the same standards.
No, but I think that's really important to understand because, there are uh, for all sorts of, not just for paralegals, but for all sorts of things. You see some very dodgy looking qualifications online for, all sorts of areas of life. And
Yeah,
it is very good to know that this is something that I've got that employers are going to recognize, other
yeah.
institutions are going to recognize should I want to map that qualification across into something else, whether it's law or a completely different area.
Hmm.
Having something that has that level of standard and that recognition is clearly an important consideration when you're thinking about how to spend your money and where to do your
Yeah.
qualifications.
And if you think about it, that Ofqual badge is recognised worldwide. It's not just in the UK. Our qualifications in the UK are recognised elsewhere, and they know the badges of the regulators. and people see that and they know that people have taken a fully recognised qualification that does meet the highest standards.
So yeah, so that kind of gives you, kind of turns the world into your oyster to an extent, doesn't it?
It does a bit, yes, it
Yeah.
does. Of-call qualifications are sought after all over the world, really. And there's an awful lot of our qualifications that are delivered across the world. A lot of our centres who offer distance learning offer it to people in other countries because their countries are recognising the Ofqual logo and the Ofqual regulations.
Lovely. Well, thank you very much, Jane. I think that answers all the questions that I had, which hopefully has given people a really good overview of the qualifications that NALP offers, how they're different, how you can progress through those qualifications, and again, a rough idea of kind of the timing and the cost and so on. Although I say you would need to speak to the individual centre because it does depend on how you choose to learn.
Yes.
Which obviously is basically down to what suits you.
Yeah.
So I'm now going to open up the floor to any other questions from anybody listening, whether you've got something you thought, oh, what about this? Or I don't understand that. So to do that, I'm going to hand over to Nigel.
Are there any plans for a level 8?
Not currently. There is such a thing as a level 8 qualification under the Ofqual recognition, but we haven't explored that. We want to make sure that our qualifications are fit for today's paralegals, so we want to make sure that we've got these. The level 8 is a brilliant idea, and it's not being dismissed at all, but that will be sort of further down the line, as most people are quite happy with a level 7 as a rule.
Just Katrina's just popped a question in. Working full-time as a conveyancing case handler, do you feel 9 months would be achievable for a level 3 or level 4?
If you're working full time, 9 months, you may well be able to do the level 3. I would probably give yourself a bit longer if you're working full time for a level 4, just because of the depth. And I would say also with the new level 4, if you haven't done the level 3, you will need to do part of unit 1 of the level 3, which is on research, because that carries through throughout all of the levels that we're doing. That research element is really needed. So you will be asked to kind of look through that. It's not there's no official assessment that we'll do, but your centre will check that you've done the research element. But you will need that to go all the way through. And of course, research is so vital for all paralegals.
So Anne asks, where's it gone? Having a level 3 apprenticeship, how does the level 4 follow on from that? Is there much repetition?
No, what it does is, as I say, that our level 3 paralegal technician is based on the level 3 apprenticeship national occupational standards, same ones. So what the level 4 does is it takes that and it builds on it. So when you go through sort of the workbook for the level 4, you will see it sort of as you will have learned in level 3, and then it will go deeper into that. So it does build on the learning directly from the level 3 into the level 4. So there won't be repetition per se.
Trina would like a little bit of clarification on assessment. So how are the different levels and qualifications assessed?
The level 3 and level 4 and level 5 all have an element of multiple choice questions. 80% of the level 3 is on multiple choice, 60% of the level 4, and 40% of the level 5. The rest is done on an assignment, a problem-based question. So you'll have a scenario provided, and then you will have to apply whichever subject that you are studying, the law, to that particular scenario and answer that. And depending on which level will depend on how long you've got to answer that. yes, there's multiple choice questions, but other than that, that's done on a proctored basis, so it's remotely. So you don't have to go into an exam hall and sit there and do a 90-minute paper or anything like that.
Lovely, thank you very much. Right, well, I think that's all the information that we can give you today in today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you found it really, really useful. As Nigel said, if there's anything you're not sure about, there's lots of details about the qualifications on the website. And of course, if you're still not sure, then do get in touch and we can always talk you through what might be best for you, or look at your particular circumstances and hopefully give you a little bit of a pointer as well. Plus, I said, don't forget that you also, as a member of NALP, are entitled to have a free 15-minute career consultation. So that might be something that fits in very well with your choice of qualifications, depending on where you are and kind of what your plans are for your career in the future. Thank you again very much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar. It's always lovely to see you there, and we do hope you find these very useful. If you've got any questions about the webinars or you've got any ideas for future topics, then please do let us know. And I believe Nigel might have put a feedback form link into the chat as well. So if you've got a couple of minutes to fill that in, we'd be very grateful. Other than that, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Have a lovely, lovely rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.